The topic we are presenting is Smart TV security and privacy concerns. I'm Saman and my group members are Anson, Andrew, Asfar and Peter. So what are smart TVs? Inspired by the Internet of Things was the rise of smart TVs, introducing a combination of media broadcasting and interactive internet-based services. According to Cisco statistics, more than 50 billion devices will be connected to IoT by 2020. Smart TVs focus on delivering content to consumers directly from network devices to end users, allowing of access to media on demand, social networking, web browsing, video conferencing, gaming, and online music and video content streaming such as YouTube, Netflix, and Spotify. Moreover, smart TVs also provide connection to external devices such as USB flash drives and mobile phones. Although smart TV technology has a lot to offer to consumers, there are risks associated with the security and privacy of using such advanced technology, which unfortunately the vast majority of users are unaware of.
In this section, we will discuss some of the related works we uncovered during the research phase of our project. The first article we covered was Watch and Be Watched, Compromising All Smart TV Generations. And the second was Demo Using Malicious Media Files to Compromise the Security and Privacy of Smart TVs. Both of these articles were written by Michelle and Karpal, 2014. In both these articles, the authors demonstrated how an attacker can use an infected media file and distribute it over the internet, and the user would download it and play it on their smart TV. When the file was played back, it would execute a script that would execute and give the attacker permanent root access to the system. This would go unnoticed by the user as the video content would continue to play as normal. Once the attacker gains this root access, they are able to remotely control the TV, access any information on it, and any devices attached, such as the built-in camera, microphone, and any USB devices or devices that are plugged into the network. The third article we covered was called Design of a Smart TV Logging System Using Beacons and Smartphones. While this article focused on a monitoring system for rating movies and TV shows, it was relevant to our research, as it discussed the logging of personal information as well as media being played on the TV. In their system, there was an intermediary device between the smartphone and the TV that would log personal information between the smartphone and the TV, as well as any videos, movies, and channels being played on the TV. This information would be uploaded to their servers for further analysis and research. However, this demonstrates that connecting the TV and the smartphone via Wi-Fi, we're able to gather more personal information on a user. So while in their example they used a beacon as an intermediary device, in a household this would be the Wi-Fi router, as you can control your smart TV with the smartphone. This opens up to even more personal information being collected. We can also gather the user's GPS coordinates as their smartphone is transmitting this information. Now, the fourth article we explored was entitled Security and Privacy Threats in Internet of Things Architectures. This was not exactly an article designated for smart TVs. However, since smart TVs are an IoT device, it does have merit. So some of the issues they uncovered with IoT devices is the logging of information. So they collect logs on usage, audio, files, websites, and even location if GPS is integrated. What the article also goes on to discuss is that all this personal information is stored remotely, where the user cannot control what is stored and how long it's stored and what's done with the information. And in some cases, The information was even found to be uploaded to third-party servers, which there is even less control over, as the device's manufacturer is not the primary holder of this information. An interesting point the authors drew attention to is the increased power usage of these devices. As they're continually uploading information, they're always using additional power to do such. In our case of smart TVs, even when you turn off the TV, it still uploads data and monitors the microphone for keywords, such as in Android's OK Google feature. So as the TV is in standby mode, it's going to be using additional power to transcribe this audio text in the room, this audio to text, and upload it to remote servers, which is both a privacy concern and a power usage concern because you're increasing your bills. Features such as these cannot be turned off. You have to physically unplug the device from the power source to stop this. Even for a technically savvy person to block it using a firewall, it still does not reduce the amount of power consumption as the TV is processing all of this. Now the firewall would block the data from being uploaded to remote servers, but then you essentially disable the smart TV features this way. The fifth article we covered was also related to IoT devices and was entitled Security Assessment of IoT Devices, the Case of Two Smart TVs. This was more focused on our smart TV aspect. So what they covered was some of the possible hacking methods, such as through a web browser using JavaScript payload injections or apps built into as TVs usually have an app store if it's not directly connected to the Amazon or Google Play Store. And the third vulnerability was firmware bugs or security flaws in the operating system or drivers itself. In this article, they tested two TV systems and noticed that one of the TVs, which was an LG, was sending unencrypted voice data to third-party servers. This was a huge concern to them.
Hi, my name's Andrew. I'll be explaining PrivTam today for the presentation. So what PrivTam is basically it's a privacy-preserving approach for television's audience measurement. This application is used to calculate or aggregate audience measurements using smart TVs with a permanent internet access. Cryptographic techniques are used to encrypt in zero-knowledge proofs to ensure that the privacy of a consumer is preserved. The PrivTam architecture contains four main parts: participating smart TVs, television audience measurement service, trusted authority, and TA brokers. Software agents located on the smart TV collect and store viewer data and demographic elements, including age, gender, and the educational level of the viewer. The agent manages and controls access to the viewer's personal data. This agent has the ability to participate in distributed protocols and computations. TAM services collect the measurements and is responsible for managing the distributed key generation for the public key crypto system used between itself and a group of participating TV agents. Participating TV agents are chosen using a verifiable random selection process, which is used to create public keys to encrypt information. These agents are also used during the decryption process. The TA is responsible for managing the PrivTam computational process, which is what provides the protection for this sensitive data. The TA does this by dividing time into consecutive intervals. Each participating TV is used to calculate a result or a sum periodically. The TAM broker adds an optional payment functionality to this protocol. This is a high-level PrivTam process overview. Participating smart TV agents encrypt the viewer's vectors with a public key and then sends this information to the TA for verification. Once verified, the TA adds the vector to the current encrypted result, then transmits the final encrypted TAM to the participants in the distributed key for decryption and announcement of the results. Smart meters. These devices are sometimes used to invade upon the consumer's privacy through the use of load monitoring. This works by recording voltage measurements at different time intervals throughout the day. The recorded measurements are then analyzed to match specific load profiles to determine what the appliance or device is. Once identified, the information can be used to determine even more information. For example, in the case of smart TVs, this information may be used to determine the consumer's personal preferences with regards to channels, movies, or even choice of television network. Interference from other devices such as toasters, refrigerators, etc. may have an effect on the measurements recorded. However, because these measurements are recorded periodically, these signals can still be determined through the use of algorithms that are able to isolate and match the signals to specific devices.
Privacy and security. I would like to take the time to explain what Internet security and privacy is. Internet security is defined as a process to create rules and actions to protect against attacks over the Internet. While privacy is the state of being free from public scrutiny or from having your secrets or personal information shared. With the understanding of these concepts, I'd like to move on to what kinds of smart TVs there are in the market, because this will be very important on how secure some of these televisions really are. Differences between standard smart TVs and HBB TVs. So the question is, what is an HBB TV? Well, it stands for Hybrid Broadcast Broadband TV. This means it can get standard broadcast, free-to-air TV, and IPV-TV services in one. This works similar to a normal TV picking up signals, as well as works as a smart TV that can use cable programming from the Internet. Now, the red button attack. It's a form of man-in-the-middle attack. It uses drones to intercept signals coming from HBB TVs and inject a small bit of malicious code within the data stream and sends it back out on the same frequency. Most or all signals from HBB TVs are being sent without being encrypted, so information can easily be collected. It is almost impossible to detect or know this is even happening. When the information is taken by the drone, it just leaves like nothing ever happened. Now, ways to protect consumers against attacks. There's currently no protection on smart TVs. Some companies like Samsung claim to have security, but it has been revealed within a few articles that they do not. Security must be the foundational enabler for IoT. It must be a priority at the start of any project to protect people's privacy and information. Companies need to reevaluate what they are producing and consider if it needs security from the beginning. There's currently no consensus on how to implement security in IoT devices. It is also difficult to compress 25 years of security evolution into novel IoT devices. There's no silver bullet that can effectively mitigate threats. This means that there's no such thing as perfect security and protection for every situation, but people continue to make an improvement to help protect ourselves from such threats.
Risk and vulnerabilities. There are several risks and vulnerabilities that are associated with the use of smart TVs. One of the many risks includes the connection of IoT devices to the Internet that communicates with the home servers hosted by the manufacturer that is out of consumer control. Thus, devices communicating with the home server uploads information that can only be prevented if the device access to the Internet or communication between the server and TV is blocked with a firewall. Nonetheless, the options defeat the purpose of smart TV or are too difficult for the average user to implement in case of firewall configuration. Consequently, consumers are at risk of being victims of fraud, privacy invasion, and other cyber-related dangers. Next, I'll talk about smart TV and cybercrime. According to research, smart TV's rise has made it become a potential target for increasing cybercrimes. Hence, the user's personal information is vulnerable to being hacked or stolen without the user ever knowing. Some of the features that are vulnerable to hacking include apps, web browser, media playback, Skype, voice commands, and motion sensing. The cybercrimes associated with smart TVs involve the intrusion and exploitation of privacy by means of accessing stored data, taking possession or stealing personal information, as well as hiding illegal material. Next, I'll talk about malicious apps. Furthermore, installation of malicious apps can also lead to remote access or collection of sensitive information such as login credentials, cookies, and credit card information. All that can be further used for fraudulent purposes. Finally, research on single sign-on access token have demonstrated that if access to such access token is gained, attackers can gain access to Wi-Fi passwords, SSO data, and secret auth credentials. An example of such research was one that was conducted on Samsung TV, in which an attack on a single user can lead to attacks on several users by hacking the hard-coded auth credentials of apps such as eBay and Facebook that are shared amongst millions of other Samsung TVs instead of being kept private.
Therefore, smart TVs are an innovative technology that have exceeded the many expectations of consumers. However, the vulnerabilities presented show significant threats associated with the use of smart TVs that make it an invasion of privacy, security risks, as well as a liability. As a result, even though smart TVs are on the rise in the current technology market, smart TVs users serve as valuable and potential targets for attacks involving the intrusion and exploitation of their personal and sensitive data. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening.